Welcome all. Today's topic is Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra. They ruled as vassals of Cholas from 985 to 1098 AD and vassals of Kalyana Chalukyas from 1098 to 1200 AD, and they were independent rulers from 1200 to 1346 AD. This is the map showing the Hoysala Empire, and this is the emblem of the Hoysala Empire. And the capitals were Shashankapura, Beluru, and Halebeedu. Halebeedu is the other name is Dwarasamudra. The Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra came into prominence after the decline of Kalyani Chalukyas. They were subordinates of Chalukyas and became powerful by the 10th century. For more than 300 years, they ruled a major portion of Karnataka. They were able to establish an organized and able administration. They opened a new era in the field of art and architecture. Hundreds of temples built by them have been models of architectural brilliance not only in Karnataka but in whole of India. Thereby, they have placed Karnataka on the pinnacle of fame. Let us know about the origin of Hoysalas. In their inscription, they claim to be the descendants of Yaduvamsha. They have called themselves as Dwaravatipura Varadishwaras and also Kulambaradya Muni in some of the inscription. However, there have been evidence in their inscription to attribute to them a local origin. They must have been Kannadigas only. The idea which is currently favored about origin is that the Hoysalas were the son of this soil. The place of their origin was Shashankapura or Sosayuru of Malnad. The story is as follows. A Jain ascetic was praying to goddess Vasantika Devi at Sosayuru. All of a sudden, a tiger attacked him. The ascetic gave Salah, who arrived at this juncture, a weapon and directed him to kill the beast with the word Poisala. The Salah killed the tiger and achieved the fame as a valorous young man. With the blessings of Saudatta Muni and goddess Vasantika Devi, he established a small kingdom and became its ruler. This story is found in an inscription at Basaralu in Mandya district. This Salah became Hoysala and this dynasty became Hoysala dynasty. Some inscriptions referring to incidents of Hoysala period are available. Among them, the Kanachur inscription of Mudigere, Kurudalli inscription of Arsikere and Veerakallu in the tank bed of Bindigana village are important. Some inscriptions claim that Nripakama was the first Hoysala king. Vinyaditya, who succeeded him, has been referred to in some inscription as the son of Sala and in some other inscription as son of Nripakama. This has made some scholars to hold the opinion that Sala and Nripakama were one and the same. First, political history. Nripakama, who also known as Sala. Nripakama, the first Hoysala king, established a small kingdom comprising an area around Sosayuru. He defeated rulers of principalities and Malenadu, that is in Western Ghats, belonging to the Malepaganda hill tribe, and achieved the title Maleparol Ganda. It appeared that he had another title Rajamalla. In an inscription, he has been described as Rajamalla Permadi Enipa Koma Poisala. He helped the Gangas in their conquest of Mysore from the Cholas. In the Kadamba war against Chalukyas, he protected the Kadambas and earned fame. He defeated Kannama king of the Kongalva and annexed the Konganadu, that is in Coimbatore district, and became the dominant feudatory under the Cholas. Vinyaditya, he was the feudatory of Chalukyas. After Nripakama, his son Vinyaditya ascended the throne. He ruled for about half a century. During his period, the Chalukyas of Kalyani established matrimonial relationship with the Hoysalas. The queen of the Chalukyas, King Someshwaravan, that is Hoysala Devi, must have been either Vinyaditya's sister or daughter. In an inscription, he has been described as Vikrama Ganga. This was an indication of the sway he held over the Ganga kingdom. In the battle that ensued between Chalukyas and the Cholas, Vinyaditya and his son Ereyanga fought on the side of Chalukyas and were instrumental in the defeat of the Cholas. Later, in the civil war that took place between the son of Someshwara, namely Someshwara I and Vikramaditya, he sent a big army led by his son Eriyanga to help Someshwara II. But Vikrama's victory spoiled Vinyaditya's plan. Next, Eriyanga. He ruled from 1098 to 1102. He was also a feudatory. After Vinyaditya, his son Eriyanga came to the throne. Gopanandi was the guru of Eriyanga. Though he participated in the battle for the Chalukyan throne on behalf of Someshwara, in the end he became a follower of victorious Vikramaditya. Neither Vinyaditya nor his son Eriyanga, it seemed, ever tried to become independent at all. It is possible that Beluru must have been their capital during this time. Someshwara II of Kalyana died and Vikramaditya VI came to the throne without any opposition. Even then, the Hoysalas continued to be the subordinates of Chalukya. Brave and loyal Eriyanga was considered later as a right hand of Emperor Vikramaditya among his feudatories. Manevargade Kundaramaya was the chief minister of Eriyanga. The Jain ascetic Ajitasena was his teacher. Chalukyan subordinate Paramaradhandanayaka Jagadeva raided Dwarasamudra when Eriyanga attained old age. Dr. Deret in his book The Hoysalas has expressed his opinion that Vikramaditya, who did not take any step to prevent Jagadeva's attack, must have been dubious of the increasing Hoysalas' might. Because of this incident, the relation between Chalukyas and Hoysalas during the period of Ballala I and Vishnuvardhana, sons of Eriyanga, must have been anything but cordial. Also, these became the reason for Hoysalas to raise the banner of freedom later. Next, Ballala I. He ruled from 1102 to 8 he was also a feudatory. Eriyanga had three sons, Ballala, Bittideva, Udayaditya. Ballala, eldest of the three, came to throne in 1102 AD. With the help of Vikramaditya VI, he successfully attacked the Paramara king Jagadeva and made him to retreat. Later, he conquered the Changalvas of Coorg and cleared the obstacles to the Hoysala dominance. His guru Charukirti was called Ballala Jiva Rakshaka for curing his disease. As he died without a male issue, his brother Bittideva ascended the throne. Next, Vishnuvardhana. Another name of Vishnuvardhana was Bittideva or Bittika. He was the greatest among the Hoysala kings. He had taken part in many wars during his brother's Ballala's regime. He gained a lot of experience in administration as the governor of Nanjangoodu province. By his ability and might, he became the most powerful king in entire South India. He had many titles. They throw light on his victories. He completely routed the Cholas, who held sway over Gangavadi in the Battle of Talakadu in 1114 and came to have the title Talakadu Gonda. In commemoration of his victory, he built a Kirti Narayana temple at Talakadu. He built the Chennakeshwar temple at Beluru. The coins that he issued at this period contains the title Talakadu Gonda. After this victorious march, he conquered Kongu, Nangali, Nolambavadi and Kovaturu. The Malavalli inscription tells us that he uprooted the Cholas from yet another capital of Gangas, namely Kolar. Later, he drove the Cholas up to Kanchi and earned the title Kanchi Gonda. From there, he raided Madurai and defeated Pandyas. After conquering Pandyas of Uchangi in 1117, in the Dumme battle, he marched up to Rameshwaram. For all these victories, his general Maha Prachanda Gangaraja was mainly responsible. The inscription found at Salem, Jinanathapura and Coimbatore speak of Gangaraja's brave deeds in those days. Vishnuvardhana attained fame after he drove the Cholas out of Karnataka. He later defeated Kongalvas and the Cholas who were ruling at Nidugal. Thereby he established his sovereignty over Salem and Nilgiris. The Kongalva king gave his daughter Chandala Devi in marriage to Vishnuvardhana and became his friend. While Vishnuvardhana was returning after the conquest of Halasigi Rattas, he was opposed by Alupas of Alva Kheda, that is in South Canara. They were troubling him for the long time. The Belur inscription declares that Vishnuvardhana defeated them and took the title Maleperol Ganda. The Chamarajanagar inscription of year 1117 tells us that he threatened Todas and made the Kongas to run away and hide, destroyed Paluvas and killing Malayalis, threatened a king Kala. In 1130, he invaded Hanagal and conquered the Kadambas. Vishnuvardhana tried his best to overthrow from the sovereignty of Chalukyas of Kalyana, but he was surrounded by the principalities of the Chalukyan Empire. These rulers were always trying to break the strength of the Hoysalas. They became obstacles in his attempt to raising a banner of freedom. However, Vishnuvardhana, with the help of his brother Vinyaditya and General Gangaraja, Chamadeva and Dhanayaka, was able to suppress the feudatories of Chalukyan Empire and one by one. But Achungi of Erambargi withstood his attack. It seemed he drove the Hoysala's army up to Dwarasamudra. All the attempts of Vishnuvardhana in breaking the yoke of Chalukyan overlordship ended in failure at Kannegala battle near Gadag in 1118, and they remained under Chalukyan sovereignty till Vikramaditya VI was the emperor of the Chalukyan Empire. Dr. B.S. Krishnaswamy Iyengar is of opinion that only after Vikramaditya's death in 1126, Vishnuvardhana was able to declare himself a sovereign ruler. During the reign of Someshwara III, Vishnuvardhana must have tried again to become independent. Meanwhile, in 1136, when he tried to reconquer Bankapura, which was captured by the Chalukyas, he was driven back by them. 3 years after this, he must have recaptured Hanagalu, but in 1146, the Chalukyas were again after him. This time also, Vishnuvardhana returned to Dwarasamudra without any success. Till the end of his life, Vishnuvardhana was not able to accomplish his dream of becoming sovereign and died in 1152. The opinion of Dr. B.S. Krishnaswamy Iyengar that Vishnuvardhana proclaimed himself as an independent ruler immediately after Vikramaditya's death in 1126 is a matter of controversy. Some inscriptions show evidence that he remained a subordinate of Chalukyan Empire till the end. Vishnuvardhana had the titles like Mahamandaleshwara, Chalukya Mani Mandalika, Chudamani, Tadpada Padmopajivin, etc. These titles indicate that he was under the sovereignty of the Chalukyas. After the death of Chalukyan Emperor Someshwara III, Vishnuvardhana invaded the north of the Tungabhadra river. Sir John Fleet is right by remarking that he was the most important and powerful of all Chalukyan feudatories. In 1140, he invaded Hanagal, Uchangi, Bankapura, Banavasi and conquered them. In 1142, he led his army against Lakundi. Next, administration of Vishnuvardhana. By many of his victorious campaigns, Vishnuvardhana was able to expand his kingdom to a great extent. His kingdom stretches as far as Nangali in Kola district in east, Annamalai and Kongu in south, Barakpur in west, Bankapur in north. Thus, his kingdom included east of Kolar, Kongu, Talakadu, Gangavadi, Hanagal, Puligere, Halasigi and Belwala provinces. Dwarasamudra was his main capital. Yadavpura or Tornur, Bankapura and Talakadu were important centers. Karanikas were also called Shanabove. Hoysala Shetty was the title of the city administrator. His ministers were called Pancha Pradhanas. Next, cultural achievements of Vishnuvardhana. His fame was that he was able to uplift and mold a small kingdom into almost an empire. This was not something incidental or an achievement of somebody else. It was achieved by his own might. He was able to do this by struggling for many years. We have already seen his achievements in extending the borders of his kingdom. He had many able ministers and generals. His fame was crowned by his queen Shantala Devi, who was called the Natya Rani. The Shravanabelagola inscription refers to her as a daughter of Marasingha and Machikabe and Sri Dharmeshwara Devalabha Varaprasada. Hassan inscription has also eulogized Shantala, who was a great Jain devotee, had built a Jain basadi at Shravanabelagola and endowed grants for its maintenance. Next, religion. Vishnuvardhana was originally a Jain. His contemporary Kollutunga Chola was a Shaiva. In those days, the great Vaishnavacharya Ramanuja was spreading Vaishnavism in Tamil Nadu. He also criticized Shaivism, but Shaivate Kollutunga Chola did not tolerate that. As a result, Ramanuja was forced to migrate to Karnataka with his followers. The tradition is that Vishnuvardhana became the Vaishnavate by Ramanuja's influence. Thereby, Vishnuvardhana encouraged a bhakti movement, that is Vaishnavism, by supporting Sri Vaishnavism of Ramanujacharya. It is said that Ramanuja came to Karnataka and stayed at Melukote for about 14 years. Mysore gazetteers referred to Ramanujacharya converting Bitti Deva to Vishnuvardhana. In this context, there is a story that Hariyala Devi, daughter of Bitti Deva, was suffering from an attack by a ghost or was mentally ill, and Ramanuja cured her and Bitti Deva became a Vaishnavite. However, he tolerated other religions. He encouraged all religions equally without any discrimination. Channakeshava and Kappe Channigaraya temples at Beluru, Mahalakshmi temple at Dodda Gaddavahalli, and Gangadhareshwara temple at Shivaganga, Keshava and Siddheshwara temple at Marle, Kirtinarayana temple at Talakadu, Brahmeshwara temple at Brahmasamudra, and many others were built during his regime. An inscription of 1121 AD tells us that he gave a land grant in the name of his wife Shantala to a Shaiva temple built by the Cholas. This grant was sufficient to feed about 220 Brahmin Pandits. He built a village near Hassan is called Shanti Grama in the Rome of his queen Shantale. He established Yatiraja Mata at Melukote for Ramanuja and endowed it with many grants. Many Jain ascetics like Mallisena, Maladari, Prabhachandra and others had received generous grant by him. The Halebeedu inscription tells us that the Shaiva Mata Kalamukha was also built at Dwarasamudra. The later Hoysala ruler Veera Virupaksha Ballala had become a Veerashaiva. Next, art and architecture. From among 150 temples built during Hoysala period, a majority of them belong to Vishnuvardhana's regime. Only during his time, unique style of temples building activity began. The great sculptors like Dasoja, his son Chavana, Mallitamma, Chikka Hamsa, Nagoja, and others who raised the excellence of the Hoysala art to the great height were his contemporaries. His period was called the Golden Age of Temple Architecture, and the sculptures were mainly responsible for such fame. A great brilliance appeared in the field of art, architecture, and sculpture. It was Vishnuvardhana who laid the foundation for the Hoysala architecture. His period can be rightly compared to that of the great Mughal Shah Jahan. Important among the temples built from him were the Channakeshava and Kappe Channiga temple at Beluru, Kirtinarayana of Talakadu, Veeranarayana of Tonduru, Chaluvanarayana at Melukote, Mahalakshmi temple at Doddaga Devahalli, Mallikarjuna and Ranganatha temple at Uhuliyuru, Parshvanatha Basadi of Halebeedu, Savati Gandharva Rayana Basadi and Jeenanatha Basadi of Shravanabelagola, Keshava and Siddheshwara temple of Marale, Govinda temple of Bindiga Vale, etc. Many of his generals and queens who were followers of Jainism has built many Jain temples. These reflect the excellence of art of those days and remain as our proud national monuments even to these days. Next, literature. Vishnuvardhana was not just a conqueror and builder, he encouraged art and literature too. Jain scholars Rajaditya wrote Kshetra Ganita, Vyavahara Ganita, and Leelavati in Kannada. There were mathematical treatises in poetic form. Nayasena was the famous poet of Vishnuvardhana's time. He was a Jain. He had titles like Nutana Kavita Vilasa, Digambara Hasa, and he wrote Dharmamrita. Ramanujacharya, who stayed in Melukote, wrote critiques on Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras. His other works were Vedanta Sara, Vedanta Deepika, Vedanta Sangraha, etc. Vishnuvardhana was a cultured person and noble king. His versatile achievements were memorable. These have made him a great king to whom Karnataka could be proud of. With this background, there is no exaggeration in S.K. Iyengar's claim that Vishnuvardhana was the maker of Mysore. Next, let us know about Narasimha I. He ruled from 1142 to 73. After Vishnuvardhana's death, Queen Lakshmi Devi's son Narasimha I or Vijaya Narasimha came to the throne. He was the contemporary of Basaveshwara and Bijala, but Narasimha was incompetent. As a result, Nolambavadi, Tungabhadra area and Banavasi slipped out of the Hoysala hands. The crown prince Ballala II, who could not tolerate the state of affairs, so he usurped the throne in 1173 AD by removing his father from power. Next, Ballala II. Ballala had gained much experience in administration during his father's regime. He was a brave king. He had to struggle hard in order to set the things right. He began to suppress the various rebels with his able commander Bettirasa. The moment he came to power, he conquered the Kongalvas and Changalvas of Coimbatore and Kurg. The Pandyas who were in Uchangi of Ballari area were defeated. By capturing Uchangi, he acquired the title Giridurga Malla. Meanwhile, the Chalukyas of Kalyani were on the decline and their feudatories, namely Nolambas and Kalachuris, have become undepending. Ballala broke their might and declared independence. Billama, the Sevuna king of Devagiri, was trying to become independent. Ballala too advanced his well-prepared army against him. In the battle of Soratur near Gadaga, he defeated the Sevunas. The inscription made eloquent praise and asked who could be equal to such brave warrior, referring to this victory of Ballala. As a result of this victory, the Tungabhadra area came under the Hoysala domain. He made Lakkundi, that is near Gadaga, as the northern capital of his kingdom. The Cholas asked for his help. He helped Rajaraja Chola III to regain his kingdom, who had lost it, and acquired the title Chola Rajya Pratishthapanacharya. Meanwhile, his queen Uma Devi went with an army to quell the revolt of Sindhas of Belagutti. According to inscriptions of Kaduru, this victory made Uma Devi famous throughout the country from the Himalayas to Rameshwaram. In 1196, 7 years after this event, the Tiptur inscription tells us that even in this border trouble, the Hoysalas came out successfully and the river Bhimarati became the border of Hoysala kingdom. From the Channarayanapatna inscription, it is clear that Ballala, who was old by then, crowned his son Narasimha II in 1220 and later spent his last days peacefully in Vanaprastha. Ballala had a troop of loyal bodyguards. They were called Garudaru. Kuvara Lakshmana was the captain of such troop of 1,000 bodyguards. Inscription tells us that when he heard of Ballala's death, including his wife and troop of 1,000 men called Garudas committed suicide as a mark of affection and loyalty. His wife Sugala Devi committed sati. Ballala, who ruled for about half a century, achieved the same grandeur as Vishnuvardhana. He enhanced the fame of Hoysalas. Throughout the kingdom, peace was established. Many temples were built under royal patronage. The Kedareshwara temple of Alebeedu was important among them. Next, Narasimha II. He ruled from 1220 to 35. Narasimha too came to the throne after his father Ballala. By then, the Sevunas of Devagiri had become powerful, and then had checked the Hoysala expansion towards the Tungabhadra river. Narasimha spent most of the 15 years of his regime in the south helping the Cholas. He had given his daughter in marriage to Rajaraja III, son of Kollutunga, the brother-in-law of Narasimha. A Chola subordinate, Peranjinga, had become powerful enough to imprison Rajaraja III and had captured the Chola Empire. Narasimha had to rush to help his son-in-law. He killed Peranjinga and re-established Rajaraja III on the throne. B.S. Krishnaswamy Iyengar rightly remarked, as Cholas and Pandyas were on the decline, Hoysalas had acquired the status of playing the role of arbitrators in the South Indian political affairs. Again, Narasimha spoiled an attempt by Pandyan king to take over the Chola kingdom. He marched up to Rameshwaram and erected his victory pillar there. After Narasimha, his son Someshwara came to throne. Next, Someshwara II. Uh, Someshwara II, who was the crown prince after his father regime, had gained experience in administration by being the governor of the southern province Kannanur. This renamed as Vikramapura was his capital. He stayed in south even after his father's death, and he visited Dwarasamudra once in a while. This encouraged the Sevunas of Devagiri to be bold enough to become independent. In 1240, Someshwara built Harihareshwara temple at Harihara near Davanagere. It was a unique temple with Shiva and Parvati on the right side and Vishnu and Lakshmi on the left side. Shiva is holding Trishula and Damaru, Vishnu is holding the Shankha and Chakra. This temple promoted the harmony between Shaivas and Vaishnavas. The place also came to be known called Hariharapura. There is a tall stone pillar in the front of temple. Provision was made for the lamps around the pillar from bottom to top. These lamps are lit every day and particularly during the month of Kartika. In the south, during the regime of Rajendra III, the Cholas, the Hoysala and Hoysala's relationship became anything but cordial. Someshwara, instead of helping the Cholas as usual, supported Jatavarma, the Pandyan king, against the Cholas. He thus became responsible for the defeat of Rajendra in the battle that ensued in 1252 between the Cholas and Pandyas. Someshwara, in his last days, divided his kingdom between two and let his elder son Narasimha III govern the northern part with Dwarasamudra as his capital, and allowed his younger brother Ramanatha to govern the other portion, including Tamil Nadu area from Kannanur capital. Next, Narasimha III. He ruled from 1253. Narasimha who came to throne in 1253 at Dwarasamudra, had to face trouble at the hands of his younger brother Ramanatha. This enmity between them resulted in the fall of both. The Sevuna king Ramachandra took advantage of their internal strife. He attacked Dwarasamudra and defeated Narasimha. Maravarmam Kulashekara Pandya, who captured the Chola kingdom, instead conquered the Hoysalas of Kannanur. Many Tamil provinces were also captured by him. Kundini near Kannanur became his capital. As a result, Ramanatha turned on his brother's kingdom. In 1291, Narasimha died and his son Ballala III ascended the throne. In 1295, after Ramanatha's death, his son Vishwanatha became the heir of the throne of Eastern Kingdom of Kannanur. Ballala III, who ruled from 1291 to 1342 at Dwarasamudra. Ballala III, son of Narasimha, was the last of the great Hoysala kings. His long regime of 52 years was an eventful chapter in the history of Karnataka. When he came to power, the Hoysala throne was troubled greatly by enemies. However, his own relative Ramanatha and Vishwanatha were creating trouble. Ballala faced all these problems with great ability. He imprisoned Kotanayaka, who revolted in Banavasi. Meanwhile, he successfully withstood an attack made by Ramanatha on Bengaluru and Kunigal. Ramanatha died in 1295, but his son Vishwanatha continued his father's policy. Ballala defeated Shavanas of Devagiri, Nolambas of Nolambavadi, Kalachuris and occupied their kingdom. He extended the Hoysala kingdom up to Tiruvannamalai. Meanwhile, Vishwanatha died in 1300 and his death became an important event in the history of Hoysalas because after his death, the Hoysala kingdom became unified under Ballala III. The Muslim rulers of Delhi who destroyed many Hindu royal families who shook the entire north turned towards the south. Tajuddin Malik Kafur, who was formerly Hindu Gujarati Babar, the great general of Alauddin Khilji, the Sultan of Delhi, struck Devagiri like a whirlwind. The Sevunas and Kakatiyas were the first victims of this attack. Later, by 1311, Ballala III was also defeated by him. Dwarasamudra fell to Malik Kafur. Later, Malik Kafur attacked Pandyas of Madurai. Ballala tried to help Pandyas, but that attempt too failed. Ballala committed a big blunder in thinking that the invasion of Muslim was temporary. As a result, he was caught unprepared. In 1327, the Delhi Sultan began yet another attack. Dwarasamudra was looted barbarously. Temples were destroyed and looted. The Hoysaleshwara temple stands as a mute evidence of this attack. Truce was the only way by which he could save the temple and liberate his subjects from the hardship. As a result of this treaty, he got back Dwarasamudra. On his return from Tiruvannamalai in 1329, Ballala built a new town in the north. This township was called Virupakshapura. S.K. Iyengar is of opinion that later this itself became Vijayanagara. In 1329, Virupaksha Ballala was ruling it. The Sultan Alauddin Khilji, who drew out Veerapandya and Sundarapandya and captured Madurai, established a Muslim kingdom there. Ballala, who was defeated, helped the Sultan according to the condition of treaty in establishing this kingdom. But later, Ballala went on organizing the local resistance against the Muslim menace. He tried to unify the warring lords against the alien rule which had established itself in the south also. By his attempt, he was able to organize against Ghiyazuddin, the Sultan of Madurai. Ballala died in 1343 on the battlefield. Next, Veera Ballala IV. He succeeded to the Hoysala throne in 1343. He was converted to Veerashaivism by Guru Chittaradhya, who became the royal preceptor in the same year. He was the last independent ruler of Hoysala dynasty. During his success, Hoysala became the vassal of Sangama dynasty of Vijayanagara. In next class, let us know about Hoysala administration. Thank you.